Today we're going to talk about the human will, but probably not in the way you're used to. We're jumping back to 1909, to an idea from a writer named Thomas Troward that completely flips our modern idea of willpower on its head.
But first, let's just admit something. Why does willpower always feel like such a fight? You know, that feeling when you're trying to change a habit or just stay focused, and it feels like this constant, draining, uphill battle against yourself? It's exhausting, right?
Well, the problem, it turns out, might be the approach itself. We're taught to just force it, to grit our teeth, use brute force, and push through the resistance. Troward basically says that this whole model is broken. And, thankfully, he offers another way, a much more effective and, honestly, a much more peaceful way.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll look at a totally new way to define the will. Then we'll get into exactly why that brute force method almost always fails us. And finally, I'll give you a simple practice you can literally start using the moment this is over.
Okay, so let's dive into this central problem with how we usually think about willpower. I like to call it the willpower paradox. Troward absolutely nails it with this line. When we use force, or what he calls compulsion, any results we get are, well, they're shallow, they don't last. I mean, think about the last time you forced yourself to stick to some crazy diet or a new routine. How long did it really last before you just snapped back? And here's the thing, that's not a personal failure, it's a failure of the method. And this is the core of the paradox. When you try to violently push away a thought or a craving, you have to keep that exact thing in your mind in order to fight it. You're actually feeding it your energy and your focus, which only makes it stronger. Pushing against the resistance just makes the resistance push back harder.
So if force is the problem, what's the solution? This is where Troward's big idea comes in, and it really is a total game changer. It's all about direction, not force.
See, for Troward, the will isn't some muscle you use to beat yourself into submission. He defines it as the part of your mind that gives direction to everything else. Your thoughts, your emotions, your focus. It's a calm, guiding intelligence. Its job isn't to struggle, its job is to steer. And the difference here is night and day. The old way sees willpower as a muscle to flex, which always leads to getting tired out. Troward's way sees the will as a rudder to steer your ship. Brute force fights against things, which creates all this strain. This new way moves towards what you want, with this feeling of peaceful determination. One is a war, the other is just navigation.
Now to make this super clear, Troward gives us this brilliant metaphor that makes the whole concept really practical and easy to picture. The pilot and the rudder. Okay, so imagine your mind is a ship sailing on a huge ocean. The engine of that ship, the raw power that moves it, is just this unlimited, universal energy. It's always running. Now, your will, that's the pilot. The pilot doesn't have to power the ship. The engine does that. The pilot just chooses the destination. And the rudder, the thing that actually steers the ship, that is your attention.
And this is the whole key right here. Energy flows where your attention goes. The pilot, your will, simply uses the rudder of your attention to aim that massive engine. It's not about forcing the ship to move. It's about calmly and persistently steering the power that's already there.
All right, that all sounds great in theory, but what does this actually look like in real life? Let's make it practical and look at a few examples.
So let's say you're at work. You keep getting distracted, you're procrastinating. The brute force way is to yell at yourself, right? Focus, get it together. Troward's way, you notice the distraction, and then, like a pilot just making a tiny course correction, you gently guide your attention back to the one thing that matters most. No drama, no strain, just a quiet, persistent redirection.
Oh, this is a big one. Think about relationships. How much energy do we waste trying to force other people to change? It's completely exhausting, and it never works. The alternative is to just stop trying to control their ship and focus on steering your own. Use your will to direct your attention toward understanding, toward empathy, toward your own inner peace, no matter what they're doing.
And habits. This is perfect for habits. Instead of declaring war on a bad habit, which, as we know, just makes you focus on it more, you just turn your back on it. You calmly and persistently put your attention on the new behavior, the one you actually want. You're not fighting the old thing, you're just steering toward the new one.
So now I want to walk you through a really simple exercise you can do to get a feel for this principle right away.
Let's call this the rudder and oar practice. First step, just pick one area in your life where you feel like you're struggling. That's the storm. Step 2, and this is crucial, stop rowing. Just mentally drop the oars, let go of the brute force. Step 3,
Gently use your rudder, which is your attention, to just hold the thought of your desired destination in your mind. And step 4, whenever a wave of distraction hits, don't fight it. Just let it pass and then calmly and gently steer back on course. Repeat as often as you need.
And remember, the whole feeling you're going for here is one of peaceful determination. It's not that stressed-out white-knuckle grip of trying to force something to happen. It's the quiet confidence of a pilot who knows that small, consistent adjustments of the rudder will always, eventually, get the ship to where it's going.
So, let's wrap this up with the 3 big takeaways. First, your will is a guidance system, not a battering ram. Second, forcing things might work for a minute, but gentle guidance is what creates real, lasting change. And third, the main tool your will uses to do all this is your attention. That's your rudder.
So, I'll just leave you with this one question. Now that you know you're the pilot and that you have this incredible, effortless power at your command, what's the first destination you're going to set? What direction are you going to choose to steer your life in, starting right now?
Now, this idea of the will is the foundation, but it actually works hand in hand with another powerful part of our mind. In our next session, we're going to explore Troward's take on the subconscious mind. You can find the full playlist for the series down in the description. Thanks so much for being here.